the living television. Today, as usual, we are bringing to you issues of the moment. In today's issues of the moment, we'll be looking at small and medium enterprise, the Abia perspective. In these small and medium enterprise Abia perspective, I have a man who has paid his dues in this aspect of business in Abia State, Nigeria generally. And with me in the studio to look into this discourse is no other person but Dr. Ambassador Darlington Onoha Carlo. Onoha Darlington Carlo, an ambassador, is the president general CEO, African Association for Small and Medium Enterprise, ASME in abbreviation, that is AASME, Coalition of Business Groups and Association of Nigeria. He has been in these for quite a long time, and this is the man you are having today. Sit tight and watch as we unveil what we have for you. Dr. Ambassador Darlington Onoha, you're welcome to the program.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof.
I know before now, when we were younger, what I call you is Sento.
That's an organization.
All right, Dr. Ambassador Darlington Onoha Carlo, talking about small and medium enterprise, and then it is a name that so many persons do not know or understand what it means. First and foremost, before we get to how you get started, let us understand what small and medium enterprise is all about.
Okay. Thank you very much, Prof. Actually, like you have said, small and medium enterprise is a name that people just overlook. It's called micro, small, and medium enterprise. The micro is being seen as from 1 naira to 50,000 naira business, and then the small is from 50,000 to 1 million naira business, and then the medium is from 1 million to 50 million naira business. Then the enterprise is from 50 million to 500 million business. Then you continue to move from there. So, and when you look at it generally, the MSME is the backbone of every economy. Any economy that wants to thrive must have its SME in hand or at the back. Are you a president? Are you a governor? Are you a man? Are you a woman who wants to thrive? You must have your SMEs thinking in your hand. And having it means that you can now begin to make projections. You can now begin to look at where you're coming from and where you're going. And this MSME is in diverse way. It's not only as somebody who just put up a table or who just put up a shop or who just put up an office. Your intellectual ability is also being scaled within that periphery of the MSMEs. You can now say, you can sell your idea and then you make money. You can sell your entertainment and you make your money. So it is encompassed in your, you can even sell your culture and you make your money. So it is a compass of living. That is why we say micro, small, and medium enterprise, which everybody is in.
Especially in Enyimba City here, that is where people here are predominantly business people, from small to big and so on. So talking about small and medium enterprise, from your explanation, is talking about how to small big. You mustn't have the whole billions of naira to get your business started. That's exactly what you have explained here.
Yeah, you get it right. But in SMEs, we say, think big, start small.
All right.
Think big, start small. So for you, you have to first of all think. Think like you're going to be the governor. Think like you're going to be the biggest entrepreneur. Think like you're going to be the biggest entertainer. Think like you're going to be the biggest footballer. Then what do? You start small.
Think like you want to be a governor, start from the councillorship.
Start from the councillorship.
All right, okay. So can we know how you get started with this?
Well, thank you very much. Like you said, Enyimba is a city that has much components. I was born and bred up in Abia. and being an Abba boy, now an Abba man. So you see that the spirit of enterprise runs in us. And when it runs in us, it means that we start, bringing it out. I remember in 2000, I thought of how to manage the MSMEs who are into leather and garments in Abia State, which you have about 1,200,000 of them who are into garment and the shoe production. So along the line, I become their chief consultant, which is the Abia State Shoe Bag Belt Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. So when I become their chief consultant, I started thinking, how can they become global? Because people all over the world come to Abba and get their stuff being made, and then get their shoes being done in the way they want. And then they will go to wherever they were going and then say they come from Abba. And you cannot differentiate the product from Abba and that of maybe Italy, Portugal, Brazil, and so many other countries that are into fashion design. So when I become the chief consultant of the Abia State Shoe Bag Belt Manufacturers, I now am going to have a scope. What do we have so that the world can see? So I thought of us having a cluster. So that was when I came up with an idea of building an industrial cluster in Abia State, which is the Omokaleka Leather Garment Industrial Cluster. It was in 2000. So I took it to see the president in 2006. So when we went, we met with the minister. There was then Charles Ubu. So Charles Ubu said, no, this is big. So we have to go back to our governor for governor to start with us. So we came back and then met T.O.G. So when we met T.O.G. started planning on how to get the Omokaleka Industrial Estate done. But along the line, they were not consulting me any longer, so there was a bypass. But in my exposure, I come in contact with Nigerian Association for Small and Medium Enterprise. That was then in Enugu when they were doing their national conference. And then I did an exposure of the Abba Med products. So the people that came there, the Bank of Industry and Israeli ambassadors, so they got the fashion, they got the enthusiasm in us, trying to expose the product of made in Abba. Then the Nigerian Association for Small and Medium Enterprise saw that in me, and I approached them and said, can you make me your state chairman? At the end of the day, they made me a state chairman. So I became a state chairman of Nigerian Association for Small and Medium Enterprise in 2008. And in that April 2008, when I became the state chairman, they told us that we are going to China for China-African Business Summit, which I joined. I was the smallest that joined that trip to China. So when I went to China, I met a city called Wenzhou. Wenzhou is a leather city. It's called the city of the rich, because if you're using leather, it means you are a rich man. You see the handbag of a rich man and the shoe of a rich man, that will tell you that that man is rich. So when I went to Wenzhou, I met a company who is into exhibition of a leather product called Donna Exhibition Company. So Donna Exhibition Company took me around to various clusters in Wenzhou, and I saw many things and begin to see how big we can join the world in our leather process. So when I told them about our story, it was amazing that what I was telling them was wonderful. At the end of the day, when I came back, I started pushing and say, how can I go global? Then I prepared a proposal as the state chairman of Nigerian Association of Small and Medium Enterprise with other African countries. Then we have to move to the Republic of Benin to organize the first African International Small and Medium Economic Summit Forum and Award. Then the government adopted it and set up a committee that widened the scope of that proposal. An election was conducted. To God be the glory, I become the president of African Association for Small and Medium Enterprise. The then president took it to African Union, where it was also adopted to become the Continental Association for Small and Medium Enterprise. Then be it as it may, I am from Abba. I cannot run away from my place. If I continue flying all over the world without coming back to my place, it means I'm not bringing anything. So in 2008, I thought of establishing what we call World African Small and Medium Enterprise Knowledge Hub and Peace Building. It has about 35 components, comprises all aspects of SMEs. Business school is there, entertainment, industrial concepts for our people. Because I was the man that chaired the Abia State Long-Term Development Plan on trade and investment. And I put there, it should be an entrepreneurship development for training the entrepreneurs so that they can become what we want them to be. One-man business can change the economy of the entire state. If you look at the Facebook, it's one-man business that has now, triggered the whole world. So one-man business can change the whole of the entire economy of Abia State. So in that SME knowledge hub that we have about 35 components, if we begin to classify the worth, it's more than 2 trillion naira. So it means that the Abia has an economy based on SME development.
All right, you talked about helping to initiate these SME during the tenure of His Excellency T.A. Oji, now Senator. And then that dream was not realized at that time.
Yes,
and you also mentioned Mokaleka, which means you were. It was also part of your idea, brother. Yes. But during the launching, you were not in the picture. What happened?
Yes, because I have to tell you the truth, because I begin to see a picture in life that there's only one thing that brings war in life. What brings war in life is truth. When you say something which is truth, and I see it as it's not true, so we begin to drag it. The truth there is that the government of the past administration did not consult me again in whatever they are doing. Not only Omokaleka, including the Ovom Mechanic Village. Not only Ovom Mechanic Village.
What about the Njimba garment?
That is a combination of the two, because it's leather and the garment.
Okay.
It's leather and the garment. Then including the microfinance bank, because when I come in contact with Ganduje, the governor of Kano State, I discovered that Kano State has about 45 local governments, and each local government has a microfinance bank. So I put up a proposal to the state. Let's establish Abia State Microfinance Bank to every state, every local government. So that every local government will have a microfinance bank that will make them to become accessible to the SMEs. And when they want to do that, they didn't consult me again. They went and bought a Mobrid MSME bank and then started refurbishing it. And nobody knows about it. None of my members in the MSMEs Association have gotten a dime from them. So it is not, you don't want to, you can, put the SMEs under the carpet. You have to bring them on the table. Because I said earlier, they are the engine room of the economy. Just like the incoming administration has said, they are coming up with 10 billion naira on the SMEs. That is the way to go. And I will tell you that we can multiply that 10 billion naira to 100 billion naira or 500 billion naira. And then the SMEs will have money to take home with that will now develop their business. You can't be a garment producer and then you sew and then you look for somebody to buy. No, your job is to produce. Another person's job is to market. Another person's job is to look for market. Another person's job is to bring design, the reigning design.
Okay, let's take it gradually there.
Yes.
Your work is to produce. The person that produces should not be the person negotiating for marketers.
Yes, of course.
And the person who negotiates for marketers should not be the person marketing.
At all.
And then they are also different. They all stand aloof of themselves.
Yes,
and even the one who designs.
Yes.
Now, shortly before, after you met with TOG that never put this thing, never hit the ground running, were you able to meet with the outgoing government of Governor Dr. Okeze Victor Bazo?
I did, because it's like I said, it's my state. I won't use my position against my state. I will use my position for my state. 2 months when Okeze became the governor, I approached him and gave him the feasibility studies of the leather and the garment and harmonized the leather and the garment of Abia State and told him that place is not just a factory, it is a city. But he told me he's going to build a Enyimba economic city. I told him you cannot realize it. Meanwhile, the land for Umukaleka was acquired by Abia in 1973, which I have the document with me. Okay, they never have the document of the place he built, the leader or the government. I have it. As the chief consultant of the Abia State, I went to Enugu and got the document which Abia acquired as Aba Industrial City. So in that Aba Industrial City should have been the take home, should have put Abia State on the global position. When he was talking about made in Aba product, it's not his intellectual property, it's my intellectual property. So I let it go, but he didn't come up with me again. He never called me. I wrote him severally.
You sold the idea?
Yes, but he didn't know that I have the copyright. It's my copyright. Now, when I told him, let's set up the MSME Council of Abia State so that we can join the Nigerian MSME Council, where we'll be interacting with the Vice President on the issue, who is the chairman of the MSME Council. He didn't consult me again. I had it over the radio that the state is now setting up MSME Council. I kept quiet because I'm not going to rock shop that with him. I have my way to play. So I come up with things that can make Abia a viable, economic, dependable state. And not only that, I'm the chairman, manufacturing sector of the African Continental Free Trade, where it is mandatory that every state should be generating $1.25 billion. Then when I did the Abia State Long-Term Development Plan, I stated that the state can generate $1 billion a year before the African Continental Free Trade. So economically wise, I was vindicated because I said 1 billion, and then Africa is now telling you go and generate 1.25 billion from non-oil export. So don't talk about oil. Talk like I told you earlier. Talk about your potentials, your village product, your community product, your state product, your zone product, your self-product. Let's talk about that. And now, because the currency is not your money, it's the money of the nation. But you can make that money. If I say I own 1 trillion naira, it is not in my pocket, it's in the bank. While it's in the bank can dish it out to anybody. But when I come to the bank will give me my money. So Abia has a potential to become #1 SME state. I'm the one that declared that Abia State is the African SME hub. Because if you go around, you see a Cameroonian, you see a Chadian, you see people from Togo, you see people from Benin Republic, you see people from all over Africa coming into Aba, sourcing what Aba produces. But these things are not bringing revenue because it's not put in the right place. When I told the Ministry of Small and Medium, I wrote to Okeze to create Ministry of Small and Medium, he did it. Then when I told him,
he didn't do it.
He created it.
Okay.
But when he created it, there's nothing I can say that the ministry have done.
Because he left behind the owner of the idea.
Yes, of course. So you can't say you want to build a skyscraper after the architects have designed it, and you bring the builders, and then you leave the architect behind. No, the architect will be there to directing how to do until the building is completed. And when the building is completed to what the architect have designed, that is when we can now say, this is my building. And it will be a perfect building from what the architect have done.
All right, this is really interesting. We are going to go on a very short break, just about a minute, and then when we come back, issues of the moment will continue. Remember what we're talking about in small and the medium enterprise, the Abia State perspective. Fortunately enough, today, the man that is sitting before the screen is the president and also a founder, a man who has initiated the idea, even the shoe factory we're talking about, and the garment. And then you're going to hear a lot more when we come back. Don't go away, keep watching Living TV. We'll be back shortly. Our wonderful viewers, I'm happy and glad that you are still there watching your wonderful television, the Living TV. Remember, it's still your favorite program, Issues of the Moment. In today's Issues of the Moment, we are discussing a very important issue that has somehow eluded our economy, not just in Nigeria, but in Abia State here. Fortunately enough, I am not bringing you a second-class personality as a concerned SMEs, but I am bringing to you a man who initiated it, who has these whole ideas concerning SME. All right. Ambassador, right, you told us how far you've gone and how you tried to initiate this right from TA's time to the outgone government of Okeze Igbazo, and even when this thing was launched, the shoe factory was launched and so on, you were not there. And until now, we have not heard much about these shoe industry and even the garment. Why? What do you think is the problem?
Anyway, the issue there is we have to tell ourselves the truth. I think a man cannot wear a white cloth or a black cloth and come outside and tell himself that he's wearing a white cloth. If you wear a black cloth, tell yourself that you're wearing a black cloth.
So that you don't deceive yourself.
You don't deceive yourself. So I don't see the issue that we should be deceiving ourselves. What the governor, the outgone governor, has succeeded in doing is just to add himself or that company as part of the number I have already listed in the feasibility studies of the Abia State shoemakers and garment makers, where I have about 1.2 million. So he's just 1.2 million and 2. So if you add the leather as a factory, the garment as a factory, we have not gotten the cluster. The cluster is a village, is a development village that has a component of a village, of an industrial village. A cluster that will have a school, a cluster that will have hotels, a cluster that will have an amusement park, a cluster that will have estates, a cluster that will have worship centers, a cluster that will have a processing zone, a cluster that will have a place for immigration, a place for custom, a place for police. And that was why when I was running the MSMEs programs in this state, I find out that there is no how an SMEs will not be a partner with Nigerian police. Then when RSA was the commissioner, the Inspector General of Police, I instituted the community policing. That is to say, the community has to have a partnership with Nigerian police to have security. Because the policeman is not a ghost. Yeah. He's a human being like you. So it is in the information that you give him that he work with. Now, if you give him a right information, he work with the right information. If you give him a wrong information, he work with the wrong information. So if we have that community policing, which means we have a partnership with Nigerian police on building a secure environment that can promote our business and sustain our culture. And if we don't do it, our business cannot be promoted, our culture cannot be sustained. These are things we need to have in our mind.
All right. Now, because of what has happened and what has transpired between you and the outgone government, what do you think, before we talk about the way forward in Abia State, so what is your plan to ensure that this SME is well? You are an Abia man, you are from here, and then having held these positions and you're still holding them, and then because there is a saying in England that whoever that intends to heal Whitilo must present his fingers, because only a man that has suffered it knows how to heal it. So what do you think will be done in Abia State for this thing to thrive, and also know that when it is properly done, it is going to create a lot of employment and also boost the economy of the state? So what do you think will be put in place for it to happen?
Thank you very much. We in the African SME have Abia State as our Southern Nigeria liaison office. We have marched out programs and projects, like you said, that our people are going to benefit from. And we have also institutionalized several institutions that will now drive the SMEs projects. So we are not going to leave our farmland because it has grown with weeds.
Yes.
It is for us to walk into the farmland and pluck off all the weeds so that the plant will have fresh air and growth and give us the right fruit. The incoming administration has come, and then I went through the inaugural speech. I found out it's a beautiful inaugural speech. One, he made mention of African continental free trade. Two, he made mention of the SMEs and the digital economy. These are the areas of the SMEs. And three, he made mention of the security, which we have done a swelling work on how every citizen of Abia State will become part of the security apparatus so that we build a secure environment. So we will release our partnership to the Executive Governor, Dr. Alex Choma OTOFR, and his administration on how we are going to work on. And
all right.
importantly,
shortly before you continue, from all indications, you were terribly disappointed by the outgoing government because all the projects, all the initiated ideas that would have taken Abia farther, than where it is economically and otherwise, and also in terms of employment-wise, you were disappointed because even though the governor had good intentions to have established, to have brought your ideas to book, but the owner of the idea was not in place to drive it on. And so, how do you intend to ensure that this government will not repeat exactly what happened in the past?
Anyway, thank you very much. I like this question you have thrown to me. In my course of visiting the president of Federal Republic of, Republic of Benin, the outgone president, Dr. Thomas Yaiboni, I met Dr. Lex Oti when he was the GMD of Diamond Bank. I met him in the reception when he was also waiting to see Mr. President. And each time I see him, I always remind him that I've met you somewhere. And I think he's a technocrat. I think he's the one that will look into the papers and know what the lines of the papers say and follow it. And it's just like this administration, I see it that it's not a one-man administration. It's not a party administration. It's our administration. Because all of us stood to demand for the change, and this change has come. I think it's right time. I used to tell people, whatever you think you can offer to the administration of Dr. Alex Oti, come up with it. I think he will marry with it and then see that there is a viability in Abia economy. And I used to say that I want to see Abia to become a glass state. A glass state, because when you see Dubai and some of the places that are happening, there were no places known maybe in 1980. But today, before you mention 2, 3, you see them, you mention them. So Abia can be that when all hands are on deck, and when the executive governor is also listening and carrying people along that have this idea. Like I used to tell people, Nigeria is like a 36 country. If Abia do not adopt my programs and projects, another state can adopt it. Ganduje picked up my proposal and established 4,750 textile shops. And this is why you see the people from Kano State coming here to buy textile. Because he established shops for them and established a microfinance bank for them, where they get the money, they buy, they come, and then they become viable. So these things can be replicated because it is managed from Abba. We gave Ganduje the best African SME Governor Award in 2017 because he merited it. So we look at what we can do and how we can do it. We'll just tailor it. And we are bringing the first SME, academy in Abba. For the southern Nigeria. So it is mind-blowing. The institution will generate so many things, and most of us are going into quality assurance training so that you become a certified Cure AA. And once you become a certified Cure AA in what you're doing, it means that you can match globally and become a standard